The first night it happened, Daniel Hart thought it was the wind. The house was old, but not abandoned. Built sometime in the late 1960s, 2 stories, narrow hallways, and doors that liked to creak when the temperature dropped. The realtor had called it full of character. Daniel had called it affordable. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the bedroom door opened. Not wide, just enough to let in the hallway light. Daniel woke to the sound of hinges whispering against old wood. His eyes snapped open, heart racing, breath shallow. He lay still, listening. Nothing. The door stayed open for a few seconds, then slowly drifted back until it rested against the frame again. Daniel sat up, rubbed his face, and checked the time on his phone. 3:18 a.m. He blamed the house, rolled over, and went back to sleep. The second night, it happened again. Same sound, same slow movement, same time. This time, Daniel got up. He stepped into the hallway barefoot, the wooden floor cold beneath his feet. The house was quiet, too quiet. No humming fridge, no distant traffic. It felt as though the world had paused. He checked the front door. Locked. The windows. Closed. He stood there for a long moment, then returned to bed, annoyed with himself for being unsettled by something so small. The third night, he waited. Daniel lay awake, eyes fixed on the bedroom door, phone in his hand. The minutes crawled past. 3:10, 3:14, 3:16. At 3:17, the handle turned. Slowly. Deliberately, the door opened the same way as before, stopping at the same angle. Daniel's mouth went dry. There was no breeze, no pressure change, nothing that explained the movement. He jumped out of bed and yanked the door open fully. The hallway was empty, but the air felt wrong. Heavy, thick, like the house was holding something inside it. The next morning, Daniel mentioned it to his sister, Claire, over the phone. "It's just an old house," she said. "You're stressed. New place, new job." "Yeah," Daniel replied, though his voice lacked conviction. That night, he placed a chair against the bedroom door. At 3:17 a.m., the chair scraped across the floor. Daniel woke to the sound of wood dragging against wood. The door opened anyway. He didn't sleep after that. By the 5th night, Daniel started noticing other things. The hallway clock stopped at 3:17 every morning. The bathroom mirror fogged up on its own at night. And sometimes, just before the door opened, he heard breathing. Not loud, not close, but present. On the 6th night, he set up his phone to record. He placed it on the dresser, camera facing the door, and lay back, heart pounding. He didn't blink when the time came. At 3:17, the door opened. On the screen, something else appeared. A shadow crossed the hallway. Tall, thin, too smooth to be human. Daniel grabbed the phone and rushed into the hall, turning on every light. Nothing was there. When he watched the recording later, his stomach dropped. The door moved, but the shadow did not appear on the video. It was only visible to him. That was when Daniel began to wonder if the house wasn't opening the door, if something else was. The 7th night, he didn't sleep at all. He sat on the bed, lights on, door locked, chair wedged tight. His eyes burned with exhaustion. His nerves felt exposed. At 3:16, the lights flickered. At 3:17, the lock clicked. The door did not open slowly this time. It swung wide, and something stood in the doorway. Daniel froze. It was shaped like a person, but wrong. Its limbs bent slightly out of alignment. Its head tilted at an angle no neck should allow. Its face was pale and unfinished, like it had never fully formed. It did not step into the room. It only watched. Then, softly, it spoke. "You forgot me," Daniel screamed. The lights went out. When they came back on, the door was closed. The house was silent, and the clock in the hallway had started ticking again. Daniel did not leave the house the next morning. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wall clock as it ticked forward, every second sounding louder than the last. The memory of the figure in the doorway replayed in his mind. The bent limbs, the unfinished face, the voice that sounded less like speech and more like something remembering how to talk. "You forgot me." Daniel rubbed his temples. Lack of sleep could cause hallucinations. Stress could twist perception. He clung to those explanations like a lifeline. At 3:17 p.m., the clock stopped. Daniel noticed it immediately. He stood up slowly and tapped the glass. The second hand refused to move. He checked his phone. The time was correct. Only the clock had frozen. At 3:18, it started ticking again. That night, Daniel called Claire and asked her to come over. "I just want someone else here," he said. One night, she arrived around 10 p.m., armed with coffee, sarcasm, and concern she tried to hide. "This place gives me a weird feeling," Claire said as she stepped inside. "Like it's listening." Daniel forced a laugh. "You're not helping." They stayed up late, talking, watching old movies, keeping the lights on. Midnight passed. Then 1. Then 2. At 3:10, the air changed. Claire felt it too. She stopped mid-sentence and frowned. "Do you feel that?" Daniel nodded. The house grew unnaturally quiet again. At 3:16, the hallway clock slowed. At 3:17, the bedroom door handle turned. Claire froze. "Did you lock that?" "Yes." The lock clicked. The door opened. Claire gasped as the hallway light spilled in. "Daniel, what is that?" Something stood there again, taller than before. Closer. This time, it stepped forward. Claire screamed. The thing turned its head toward her, movements sharp and wrong. Its mouth opened wider than it should have. "She sees me," it said. The lights burst back on. The hallway was empty. Claire collapsed onto the bed, shaking. "I'm not staying here," she whispered. "You need to leave. Tonight." They packed quickly. Daniel grabbed his laptop, documents, anything important. As they stepped outside, Daniel felt a pressure in his chest lift slightly, like he could breathe again. They drove to Claire's apartment across town. At 3:17 a.m., Daniel's phone buzzed. A notification. Motion detected. From the camera he had left running in the bedroom. Against his better judgment, Daniel opened the clip. The video showed the door opening, the room empty. Then the camera tilted, as if something had picked it up. The screen filled with pale skin, an unfinished face inches from the lens. "You can leave," the thing whispered. "But you can't forget." The video ended. Daniel dropped the phone. The next day, Daniel returned to the house in daylight, armed with records he had pulled from city archives. The house had once belonged to the Harts. His family. His grandfather had lived there decades ago, raising 2 sons, Daniel's father and his younger brother. The younger brother's name stopped Daniel cold. Evan Hart. Declared missing at age 9. Never found. The report was brief. Last seen in the house. Case went cold. Family moved away. Daniel's hands trembled as he read the date. Evan disappeared at 3:17 a.m. Daniel drove back to the house without realizing he had decided to. When Daniel first saw the basement door standing open, he brushed it off. He must have left it that way. But the next day, it was open again. And the day after that, a cold draft always seemed to pour out, smelling of dust and damp concrete. One evening, he decided to investigate. A single bulb flickered overhead, casting long, dancing shadows. That's when he saw them. On the far wall, etched deep into the concrete, were scratches. They looked like they were made by a child. A knot of unease tightened in his stomach. He started moving old boxes stacked against the wall, and behind them, he found it. A small, wooden door, barely 2 feet high. It wasn't on the house plans. He pulled it open. Inside was a dark, narrow crawl space. And there, glinting in the dim light, was a small, broken watch. The hands were frozen at 3:17. Suddenly, the air grew ice cold. A voice, no more than a whisper, came from behind him. "You came back." Daniel turned, his heart pounding against his ribs. Standing at the foot of the stairs was a boy, hazy and indistinct, like a half-finished memory. "You were supposed to remember me," the boy said, his voice laced with a sadness that felt ancient. "But you grew up. You forgot. Everyone forgot." Daniel's own voice shook as he replied, I wasn't even born then." The figure tilted its head. "But you live here now." The bulb overhead flickered violently. And in that moment, Daniel understood. The door wasn't opening on its own. It was opening because someone with the same blood had returned to the house. His blood. "I didn't know," Daniel stammered. "I'm so sorry." The figure drifted closer, the cold intensifying. "Say my name," it whispered. Daniel swallowed the lump in his throat. He had seen the name on an old family tree document his mother gave him. A great uncle who had vanished as a child. Evan. The entire house shuddered. The lights flared brightly, then settled into a steady glow. The boy's face softened, his features becoming clear and solid. He looked so young. "I just wanted to be seen," Evan said, a faint smile on his lips. The crushing pressure in the room lifted instantly. Evan began to fade, not like a ghost disappearing, but like mist burning away in the morning sun. Then, there was only silence. Daniel left the house that night and never returned. He sold it a few weeks later, making sure to disclose everything. The new owners never reported a thing. No strange noises, no doors opening in the middle of the night. Because the door wasn't meant to stay open forever. It just needed someone to remember.